I'm standing at one of the bloodiest battles of the American Revolution. We're not talking about Brandywine or Bunker Hill or Kips Bay or Princeton. This is a Oriskany battlefield. And where I am is in a ravine. And this is where the battle started. Now, just to the east of here, up on this flat at the top of the hill, General Nicholas Herkimer entered this ravine with 800 Tryon County Militia and about 60 or 80 Oneida warriors. And they came down this hill, crossed over this brook, and started making their way as a relief column to Fort Stanwix, which was then known as Fort Schuyler. And when they got down into this ravine, what they didn't know was that on both sides of them, up on this hill and up on this hill, were about 500 indigenous warriors allied with the British. They were walking into a trap. General Nicholas Herkimer was at the front of the column. The column consisted of almost 900 men, and they were marching west in this direction. And right over this hill, little did he know, the Royal Yorkers, who were allied with the British, these were mostly loyalists. They were laying in wait to ambush them, to cut them off, so that the indigenous warriors on this side and on this side in the hill could fire a volley and come charging down on the 800 Tryon County Militia and wipe them out as they navigated through this low ravine. Lieutenant Colonel Ebenezer Cox was second in command of General Nicholas Herkimer's column, and he was down in this general area too with Nicholas Herkimer when the first shots rang out. The first volley hit Ebenezer Cox in the head and killed him on the spot. Right in this area over here is about the spot where Nicholas Herkimer was at the time of the opening volley. And at that time, Herkimer wheeled his horse around to try and find out what was going on behind him. And at that stage, as he was wheeling the horse around, he was shot in the left leg. It shattered his left leg below the knee, and the bullet traveled through his leg into his horse, killing his horse. Adding insult to injury, the horse collapsed, and as it went down, it landed on Herkimer's wounded leg, and he had to be freed by his men. They grabbed him and his saddle, and they took him up this hill to a beech tree, and they set him down on top of his saddle, and from there he continued to command his troops as this battle unfolded. But you can see just in this area how thick all the vegetation is, and you look up on this ridge over here to the east. It would have been very difficult for Nicholas Herkimer's men to actually see that there were ambushers waiting for them. This 3-foot wide brook is now called Bloody Brook, and there's a reason for that. It is said that during the battle, which lasted about 4 hours, this brook ran red with blood. Chaos absolutely ensued down in this ravine. You can see to the west the ridge, and you can see to the east the ridge. The Tryon County Militia was cut off down in this low area. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. Nicholas Herkimer was mortally wounded. Ebenezer Cox was killed on the spot. And what happened was the indigenous warriors fired their shot, and then they ran down through this thick undergrowth with their tomahawks and their spears, and they started cutting the militia to pieces. In about 30 minutes, Nicholas Herkimer's column had suffered 50% casualties just in this ravine. It was close, it was personal, it was vicious fighting. And amazingly, right over this ridge was Nicholas Herkimer's brother, who was fighting against him in this battle. His name was Johann, and he was over here waiting to block the Tryon County Militia from moving any further. The whole purpose of this battle was simple. The Tryon County Militia was to be annihilated from the face of the earth. The noise down here would have been insane. Would have been screaming, yelling, would have been musket fire. It would have been deafening down in here. And hundreds of men fell instantly at that first volley that was unleashed by the indigenous ambushers. A couple of weeks after the battle, another relief column came through here to relieve Fort Stanwix, or Fort Schuyler. The man who came down here was Benedict Arnold, very well known as a turncoat, hated man after he went back to the British. But he came through here, and what he encountered was absolutely ghastly. The indigenous warriors had come back after the battle and had retrieved many of their dead. But the whites, mostly Tryon County Militia, who had fallen here, they were just left here on the ground to rot. And that's exactly what happened. 2 or 3 weeks later, the stench in here would have been almost unbearable. The men were laying all over the place in various states of decay, and many of them were simply quickly buried where they fell. And this whole ravine, this area, and it is not very big, has patriots buried all over it.